Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Gas is on the Right. No, he's got a chance to win the race.
Yeah. I think that might have been like one of the cleanest hits I've ever seen in a NASCAR fight.
Cindric! Yeah, the back. Oh! Oh! Into the wall hard goes Ryan Blaney.
And he finally came to a stop. And it was just dead silent.
I said this last week, and I'm going to keep reiterating it. Live with the decisions you make. Drive by the decisions you make. Don't change up your style, but also just don't be dumb. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Gas is on the Right podcast with Alan, Emily, and Daniel.
Or his window.
Or his window at the time being. Don't forget, real quick, you guys, make sure that you hit us up on all of our social medias. They're on the screen. I'll read them off if you're listening on Spotify. So on TikTok and Instagram, we're at Gas is on the Right podcast. On X, formerly known as Twitter, we're at Gas_Right. And on YouTube and podcast streaming platforms, you can just search us at Gas is on the Right podcast. Remember, guys, leave us a
Daniel's back.
Leave us a rating and review on Spotify. It really helps us out, and it gets us out there to more people and more race fans just like me and us and you. So, without further ado, Emily, what is the topic of conversation today?
I would guess Gateway.
You would guess wrong. Worldwide Technology Speedway. No, you are right. Gateway.
I was like, wait, hold on.
It is Gateway.
Am I a week off?
So
I need to scroll a little bit in the notes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking for a second. I was like, wait, hold on.
Look, I just didn't want us to have 40 documents that are separate documents and us end up in the wrong one.
No, that's totally fine. I knew we were at Gateway this week, but you still kind of sent a little anxiety wave through me for a second there. I was like, wait, hold on. Am I on the right week? Speaking
of Worldwide Technology Speedway, for being that name, they have horrible internet service out there. The teams we're talking about, their internet was going down, communications were down. It's just
not really worldwide technology now, are we?
Not very worldwide technology of you, Gateway. But without further ado, Emily, I'll let you kick it off. So let's roll in. What we got?
So we have McDowell winning his third pole of the year and the third of his career. I'm not laughing.
Finally got some speed in the race cars.
I think so. How long has McDowell been in Cup?
2008. Because his rookie year was the giant Texas wreck where everybody was
in the
pretty
double
sure,
zero.
Yeah, everybody was pretty sure that he was probably in that qualifying wreck.
So,
yeah.
When did he win his first race?
Daytona 500 2021.
Wait, the Daytona 500 was his first win?
Yeah, thanks to Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski wrecking each other.
I mean, yeah.
But he was running top 10 consistently all day that day. But it is also a super speedway, so you can put an asterisk by it if you want. But it's still a Cup Series win.
And it still took
Win's a
him...
win.
I'm trying to do the math in my head.
14.
Over 10 years.
14 years.
14 years to get his first pole?
Oh, no. First win in 14 years. It took him...
He didn't get a pole till he got
his
first pole this year.
Right. So 18 would have been 10.
18, so to 24, 16 years.
Yeah, 16 years to get his first pole.
Yeah.
And he's gotten 3 this year.
Front Row Motorsports is fast.
I was about to say.
Yeah. Oh, wait, with the MW...
They're actually on the front row this year.
Yeah. Their name does not
well, what do y'all
false
think?
advertise anymore.
What are y'all's thoughts on him leaving Front Row? Do you think that would
It's making
result
less
in
and
another
less
16
sense.
years?
Yeah, I'm with Daniel on that. Daniel, you want to go elaborate on that a little bit?
I mean, the proof's kind of in the pudding. If you look at how the Spire cars are running, like buns, and then you look at how the front row cars are running, like not buns. It just doesn't make sense. At first, everyone's like, this is kind of a lateral move, but with the moves that front row's making, it almost seems like a step back
Yeah.
Well, then you also have
with how
front
Spire's
row.
running.
Well, that just makes me think about the fact that didn't front row confirm that they have bought another charter for next year?
Well, they haven't bought it because it's not technically for sale yet, but they have the rights to one when it does come for sale.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm with Daniel. Maybe the 3-car expansion may be a problem, or it could cause issues, but I don't see this team going anywhere but up because of the premier, the key partnership with Ford. The, I mean, the pure speed in the cars. I mean, even Todd Gilliland. And I asked you this earlier this year, and I mean, I still think that he's got a good shot to win his first Cup race in a front row car, and it's more and more so now than it was in the past 6 to 8 weeks. Like every week, it seems more and more as if it could be right there on the heels. And looking at how the Fords ran this weekend, you can say that as well because Ford's there. We said this, 2-3 weeks ago, and I mean, I reiterate it. The Fords are right there at it.
Well, I mean, they were nowhere to be found, and then all of a sudden, they've won 3 out of the last 4 weeks.
And they could have won all 4.
Yeah, had the 600 went 600 instead of 373.5. Brad Keselowski was going to win that race.
Yeah, that was Brad Keselowski.
He was the only one that could catch up to Bell, and Bell. After he passed Bell couldn't catch him.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, on the heels of that, I really think the Spire move may have been one of the things to just get it locked up because he has been on a year-to-year basis with front row for basically his entire tenure there. So.
I'm going to go back to you saying that you think Gilliland will win his first Cup race this year.
Front row. I think he'll win with front row. I don't know if he'll win this year.
Oh, okay.
Do
you think this year? Okay, let me put it like this. If you had to pick one track that you think he would definitely win at, what would it be?
I think his best chance is probably going to be Iowa and New Hampshire.
Daniel?
Super Speedway.
I don't think that he has the pack experience to handle the big pushing at the front. I would.
He's got to be there when it counts. When Michael or McDowell gets spun in front of the pack, as long as you're somewhere close to the front and avoid that, you can win the race.
Or the one that spins them.
Yeah.
Well, no, that didn't work for Keselowski earlier. But I digress.
Sorry, I just wanted to get on a little speculative.
Yeah, Daniel Harper actually agrees with that real quick. By the way, guys, if you're listening later on during the week, we live stream on Mondays. So make sure to join in with us because we will gladly plug you. If you're talking with us, we want to talk about your comments, what you're bringing up. Daniel Harper's a testament to that. But he said Todd has a damn good shot at Daytona, Atlanta, or Dega in the fall. So y'all two seem to be pretty in sync.
It's the Dan and Dan connection.
But I could see him taking on one of these kind of quirky tracks, per se.
You know what's crazy about Michael McDowell, though, is you think he's had a pretty decent year, but he's tied with Noah Gragson for 24th in points.
And Noah had a 35 what is it, 25 or 35 point penalty?
I think it was 35
point penalty.
Yeah.
I cannot get my words out.
You're good. It's all good.
But yeah, so I mean, he starts good. He's just not getting the finishes. So, on to you.
Oh, okay, sorry. I didn't know if you were going to say something else because you were like, so...
I know, I was exhaling.
So, starting with Gateway this past week, Stage 1 was a little boring. There was little to no passing, and Christopher Bell actually won Stage 1.
Yep.
So
Christopher Bell and flat ovals.
Yeah.
He's got a
knack.
This is the track most similar to Phoenix.
But, to start off stage 2, you had Truex get a flat tire after the green.
Yep. There goes.
The green flag pit stop is what I was
There
going to say.
went my pick.
Don't worry, we'll get to mine.
It happened pretty quick in succession too. I see your smile, Daniel.
We'll talk about that. So, it seemed like this past week when it came to pit stops and everything, it seemed like how fast you got off pit road and track position was extremely important because passing was almost non-existent.
Yeah, no, passing was definitely non-existent. That was a big contention point throughout, and that's been the statement all season and the stigma on these kind of like short tracks and actual short tracks is just the car can't pass. You can't pass. You can try things, but you can get to them. You just can't get by them. And it comes down to, as we continuously say week in and week out, with this package, these style tracks, tire wear.
I was gonna say I knew that one was coming. I think we've talked about that every week this season.
Well, it's just with how wide that track was, with people running the top, the bottom, the middle, and there was just so many different places to run, and it didn't matter because there was little to no tire fall off, because at the end of stage 2, all the Penske cars and a couple other cars stayed out, and it took Christopher Bell like 40 laps to start passing the Penske cars.
Yeah, well,
so they had 30 lap tires, and his brand new tires didn't. There's no reason that he should not have blew their doors off.
Yeah, there should have been an advantage for the new tires. That's the whole point about strategic pit stops, is to give an advantage. So, but I have heard some good news out of another department with the car, is that side drafting. Apparently, it seems like, and Denny Hamlin hinted on this a little bit, that at least Hendrick may have found something with them, because that's 2 weeks in a row that a Hendrick car has bounced off of somebody's quarter panel. This is kind of leading into our next point, but bounced off of somebody's quarter panel during the side draft on a straightaway. Alex Bowman did it last week, and then unfortunately for
Chase
Hamlin,
Elliott did this week.
Chase Elliott did, but also Kyle Larson did too. And that's actually what brought stage 2 to a conclusion.
Kyle versus Kyle.
The Kyle show.
Yeah, so at the end of stage 2, you have Larson overdrives the corner and takes out Busch in the process.
That's not what happened.
I'm just reading the notes.
That was kind of the
I am
cliff
the
notes.
middleman.
I didn't upgrade it after I went back and looked at the incident. I didn't update the notes again.
Do you have a video of the incident by chance?
I don't have any video, unfortunately. I actually have no
So
videos.
coming out of turn 2, I believe, Larson ran Busch high, and they made contact. So Busch crowded him the rest of the way down the track into the corner, and was right on him and took all that side force off Larson's car, and then they both go around.
The notorious thing with this car is the fact that it just snaps. And it does.
And it's
which
not
is great
a race week without Kyle Busch spinning.
At this point, yeah, no. 100%
Stop
concur.
saying that. Dude, I've had him in my back pocket all season. I was like, I'm going to save him for a good track he's done good at. I was waiting on him to hit his mark, hit a stride, and be doing good, and I feel like he has been these past few weeks. Charlotte, I feel like he would have done better if he got to actually finish the race. But the one race I use him, he's actually doing pretty decent, and then just...
See you bye.
Just my luck. But we'll get to that. It's all good. Do you feel like Larson may have been too aggressive, or do you feel like Busch was too aggressive?
Both.
I feel like you have two aggressive drivers going up against each other.
I mean, their name is Kyle. What do you expect?
Yeah, I mean...
I'm sorry, that one.
They both might as well be sponsored by Monster Energy.
Wouldn't that be just like the primary plug?
Now, just a off-topic thing, I saw a small little snippet of Bush's post-track interview, and he was just kind of like, "Yeah, if I messed up, I messed up. It's all good. If I overcorrected, I just hate it for my guys." And I was just like, since when does Bush get wrecked and not get mad at the other person?
Well, he said if he's getting wrecked and getting mad and getting in fights, he'd rather doesn't want to be with Ricky Stenhouse. He wants to be with people that are running in the top 10. And well, there you go.
There you go. You had it.
I mean, he got what he wanted.
Yep.
Ask and you shall receive.
Well, speaking of the end of Stage 2, you also have Christopher Bell winning Stage 2 as well.
Yeah.
I was kind of
That
like,
was,
for some reason,
those
I was
4
kind
stages
of
in a row.
hoping for a clean sweep race.
You about had it too, but yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
Daniel said, it was four stages in a row, almost a clean sweep for Bell, but back-to-back heartbreaks on the final laps of this race.
Oh, I thought you were talking about, like, pick weeks with us.
Oh, that too.
I was about to be
Yeah.
like, my heart is broken.
Yeah, it was a quadruple whammy.
For real.
Daniel took us down.
Great picks and just in the gutter. No knock on Austin Cindric, but who had that in their bracket? Not me.
I was going to say, just look at the odds.
So, well, I'll let you read the heartbreaks because it is sad. Your
Hold on, let me-
top cars of the day.
Can we start playing the world's smallest
The world's
violin real
smallest
quick?
violin.
So you have Bell make a late charge for Blaney, sprinkle in a little motor issues, and finishes 7th, thanks to the... I don't know who put this, I'm so sorry. Thanks to Shake and Bake from Truex.
Shake and bake, baby. There was no slingshot.
I'm going to be honest, I read over the script before we started, but like, I guess I didn't read that part.
Yeah.
So Truex was 2 laps down and pushed Bell around.
All right. Keynote here. Race manipulation or no?
Nah. I think it's just teammates being teammates.
It depends on what light you look at it in. I mean, you can see it from one angle as race manipulation, and the other one you can see it as teammates just being teammates. It just
Yeah, I think that was
The
the big
only
race battle.
the only rule
The
is that
neutral.
he wasn't allowed to push him on the last lap.
So he
that
could
was the
just
only
push him
rule.
up to. Now, is that a rule
Yeah,
that was
well-
made by NASCAR or is that a rule by the team?
That's NASCAR's rule. But I mean, if we look back at Las Vegas, was it, I believe, when Reddick was trying to catch Larson and Bubba Wallace was a lap down and had better tires and was bump drafting Tyler Reddick. We thought that was cool then, but we didn't say race manipulation then.
that's
Yeah.
true.
So
It's
I
kind of
guess
the
it's
same
because it
thing.
wasn't so publicized,
Yeah.
like as heavily publicized, because it was very heavily broadcasted in the broadcast.
Yeah.
The
Well, they had
Truex
nothing else to
Bell.
talk about.
Yeah, you
I
had
was gonna
3
say,
lanes with
pretty,
no passing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so Bell's day ends with at least a salvageable top 10 thanks to Truex. So, great teammate, great guy. Still no points. But how did Blaney's day end?
Terribly as well.
Yeah, running out of fuel on the last lap.
And then
That's gotta
handing
be
the victory.
the worst feeling in the world.
Handing the victory
As like
to
you're like,
Cindric
all
as
right,
well.
I got a 1.5 lead. Let's just go easy, no mistakes. There's no way he can catch me, and if he does catch me, he can't pass me. And then, whoa, I'm out of gas.
And he
I
went
got
from
no gas in
first
it.
to 24th.
If he would have won that race on the NASCAR fantasy picks, I would have had every single pick right, and I would have had the top 5 people in points.
Dang.
Dude.
So close, yet so far.
I was so close to a perfect score.
That also makes an 89 race winless streak for Blaney.
for breaks.
No, that's the streak that Cindric broke. Blaney won at Martinsville last year.
I was
Yeah.
about to say, yeah, that doesn't seem right. I'm reading off the notes here. I need more details. Just saying.
It was a bad note. My bad. But yeah, so Blaney, just
Blaney,
disappointed. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. So does this save the seat for the 2-car next year?
I think a win locks you in.
Depends.
Yeah, I think a win locks you in. I think Suarez's situation is a little different because of the outside pressure he has, but Ford is crumbling. They're losing 4 rides, and right now only one of them that we know of is going to a Ford team, and then it looks like everything else is going to Chevrolet and Toyota. So and then they have no one in the pipeline besides Haley Deegan right now. So
I mean,
If she ends up in Cup,
you could count Custer and Riley Herbst.
yeah, Custer
But-
and Herbst, but there's a good chance that they'll be in the 34 and the 36 next year. So
Yeah, I mean, who else does he have competition against? It's mainly guys that haven't won races.
mhm.
So, and he's got that win, which means he's got a little more funding with the team. And, I mean, I can't credit that they ran good this season, but they do have a playoff spot.
Well, I mean, he's
Daniel?
18th in the points right now.
do you mind elaborating a little bit more on the Suarez situation? I don't think we've touched on that in the podcast before.
It's
We
been-
have earlier after he won in Atlanta.
Yeah, I think
But
we
it's just
did,
that
but I think it was like
you have
extremely
the-
brief.
you have the talent of SVG and the untapped potential of Zane Smith. So it just all really depends on the charter agreement if Trackhouse can grab 2 or 1, because that's going to be the determining factor of who goes where next year.
Do you think
but
Zane
there is a
Smith
lot of-
stays?
Pressure. Where?
in Cup.
Yeah.
It's hard to say because where are you going to put him?
That was my question.
Yeah, but you replace the seat at track, or with SVG comes up, Zane takes that ride.
Yeah, because SVG and Chastain are guaranteed. But it's really just that toss up between Suarez and Zane Smith. Do you think Zane Smith is good enough to replace Daniel Suarez? Because he's having one of those Noah Gragson years that it's hard to tell. You can't
Can't gauge
judge
it.
this
My-
book by the cover
My
because of what
only
he's in.
caveat to that is NASCAR is funded by sponsorship
Right.
and sponsorship dollars, and that Daniel Suarez does have that.
Lots of it.
Lots
He's got
of
a
it.
different sponsor every week, it seems like.
And I mean, these are not sponsors that we're not seeing really many team sponsors, but personal sponsorships and sponsorships through just him and his team. So you're seeing like Quaker State, you're seeing Cosmoscope, I think it is.
What's
And,
the insurance that he runs? I forget the name of it.
Jockey.
Jockey's a team because the one car will run a jockey scheme. But Fresca last year, I don't think they've been on this
Yeah.
car this year. They
I don't
may
think
have,
they've been.
but
No, he won in Atlanta. What was his scheme in Atlanta?
Freeway. I
Yeah,
think it
isn't
is.
it Freeway?
I think it's Freeway. But he has sponsorship and fans. And he brings an international audience. So it's and Tootsie's. Thank you, Daniel
Tootsie's.
Harper. Tootsie's sponsorship in a
I
smaller
don't know how
capacity.
I forgot about that
Well,
one.
actually, they've been a primary, I think, 3 times now.
Has he
Mm-hmm.
ran
Yeah.
a Tootsie's?
Yeah, he's ran 3 Tootsies this year.
Yeah, he rented it, and I think he runs
Daytona.
it in Nashville too.
You can see.
Yeah, he ran it at the 500, I'm pretty sure, at Daytona 500. I think that was his first game of
yep,
the year.
you are right.
So a lot of sponsorship dollars that are personal deals, and that's big on keeping a seat. Now, with that said, SVG has WeatherTech, Red Bull, and that kind of money. So, but I don't think. I mean, I think you got to find a way to keep them both. because you put international eyes on your team specifically too, with your flagship
With
one car.
two.
You have two great racers, and then you also have Ross Chastain, who is also a very solid, down to earth. He's your hometown racer, and then you got your international superstars. Like Trackhouse, it would be. I think that it would be a bigger loss to lose Suarez than it would be to hold off on putting SVG in a car.
But do you think that SVG
I think Trackhouse is
winning-
going to get that sponsor or get a charter from SHR for sure. But SVG is going to that charter. I think especially since he won this weekend.
That's
think
what I was
him
going to
going to
ask.
Cup
Is do you think that him winning
is written in
Xfinity
stone.
kind of likened?
Well, I think even if he didn't win it, but here's the also wrench in that plan is that Colleague needs a driver too,
But who wants to go call?
and they could just be like, "Hey, we're gonna bring Zane over here into this charter because Spire's not doing it, so we're gonna bring him in house for us, and then we'll put SVG's obviously winning races with you guys. We'll put him with you guys next year."
Yeah, and
I actually
mean-
don't think that's a terrible.
that seems.
And then crisis averted.
Yeah,
There
silly
we go.
season.
Everyone stays.
Silly season rumor right here from Daniel. Zane Smith to Colleague, SVG to Cup on a new charter. And side note, I think Daniel Suarez's deal is through next year, by the way. So I don't even know if this is really a topic.
When is his?
I think
let me
it's.
see.
I don't know. I know
They
it's a
don't really
multi-year.
tell you.
Yeah, you just gotta. A multi-year is going to be 2 to 3 years, no matter what. But it's not. They don't ever really release that information. But also, it's because it's a private. I guess a private equity with NASCAR.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can find this. I'm gonna do some research.
But I think he signed a multi-year agreement last year, which normally means a 2-year agreement. So I think he's through. Oh,
Oh no. According to Jay Sky's NASCAR Silly Season site, that's the name of it. Daniel Suarez announced a contract extension through the 2024 season, which means that he would be.
so he is a free agent at the end of the year.
How long is his contract? Yeah, in 2023, they said a multi-year contract extension. So if you're going off 2 years, you would assume that he's a free agent next year.
Yeah, I think the guess was they locked him up till 25 or 26. Both him and Chastain, because I think that they locked him up both long term. But yeah, I mean, the thought there would definitely be SVG's coming to Cup. The writing is on the wall if he wins an Xfinity or not, but it was a matter of time before he won. He's gonna win you 1 to 2 road courses a year in Cup, and that's good enough to get round of 12, round of 8, if you can finish consistently. Otherwise. So, I mean, lock yourself in the playoffs with a road course win Charlotte Roval, or if they keep Watkins Glen in the playoffs, round of 12, round of 8. Boom, you're right there.
Well, and with winning in the playoffs and the points being shaken up, we got Austin Cindric being outside of the top 16 in points. So that gives us a little bit of shakeup. I'll read the regular season point standings real quick for us. We got Denny Hamlin, who holds serve in first place. Larson jumps back up to second place. Elliott's up 1 to third. Truex falls 2 to fourth place. William Byron stays in fifth. Reddick 6th. Gibbs 7th, all in the same. Bell jumps up 3 spots back to 8th place. Keselowski remains at 9th. Alex Bowman falls 2 spots to 10th. Chastain down 1 spot to 11th. Ryan Blaney holds serve at 12, which, interesting fact about how far Ryan Blaney has fallen. At Martinsville, he was 5th in points, and just a few weeks later, he's down to 12th. So that's something we need to keep an eye on as the bubble tightens up. Then Bubba Wallace remains 13th. Chris Buescher is up 1 to 14th. Briscoe's up 1 to 15th. Logano is up 1 to 16th, with Kyle Busch falling out of the top 16 in regular season points to 17th, with Austin Cindric in 18th with the win, and Daniel Suarez in 19th with the win, and they eliminate Chase Briscoe and Joey Logano from the playoffs. Our bubble drivers is Alex Bowman in 10th and Chastain in 11th. They're tied, plus 49. Ryan Blaney is in 12th, plus 37. Bubba Wallace is in 13th, plus 3. Chris Buescher's currently, well, I take this back because Kyle Larson technically hasn't gotten a waiver yet. So Chris Buescher
Dun.
is plus 10 actually, and Chase Briscoe is the cutoff, with Logano being down 4 and Busch being down 10 from there.
Yeah.
What standings is it?
That's just the regular season.
Okay.
So
That one,
it's quite. First off,
Hold
there's
on.
a lot of swings.
I was going to say, one thing I want to touch on real quick, and we of course touched on it last week, but because it's still a topic this week, real quick.
Mhm.
Yes, no on the waiver.
I don't know their time frame on being able to. If I'm correct, the waiver has been submitted, the request for waiver.
They have confirmed that they
I think
did
it got
submit,
submitted on Thursday.
Yes, they did submit a
So-
request for it, but do you think that NASCAR will actually give it to them?
Rumblings that I'm hearing and seeing and reading are that there are people in NASCAR that are very opposed to it, and that's what's taking it so long to be granted. My only thing to it at this point is if you don't grant Kyle Larson a waiver, you better not grant a waiver to anybody else that is suspended for any type of reason. Chase Elliott spins somebody and puts them in the wall at 180, no waiver. There should be no more gray line.
Well, you and I were having this conversation very briefly earlier. Is if I'm not mistaken, the rule by NASCAR is that you have to start every single regular season race.
Mhm.
Correct? So that means no waiver, like you said, for suspensions, but also no waiver for injuries. If you have to be out for some reason for an injury, take Busch when he broke both his legs or his ankle. I forget what he broke. I don't. But take for
I think
example
he broke
that.
like his legs.
I think he broke like
Bush?
he
Yeah, he
broke
broke
an
both
ankle.
his
Yeah.
legs.
Was it both his legs? I thought he broke an ankle.
Yeah,
and
the
then a
steering
leg.
rack went into both of his shins or something along those lines, and like
So take him for example. He missed what? 6-8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks,
yeah.
Yeah. So
and then he
Came
wins the
back.
championship.
and like you said, won the championship, but they had to grant him a waiver for that 6 to 8 weeks.
He did have a harder time winning the championship though, because you also had to be above the 32nd place in points at that time too.
I'm not saying that, he didn't deserve to be there, but what I am saying is if they don't grant Larson the waiver, you don't grant it to anybody with a suspension or an injury. If you're going to hold
Well,
to that
I
they
think
have to
they're about
start
to set
every
a
single
new
one.
precedent.
Oh, they
They're-
definitely are.
I think that this might be the turning point. And last week I made a pretty heavy case on why he shouldn't get it, but I mean, 35 waivers have been filed and 31 have been granted. The 4 that haven't is because Grant Enfinker missed a race because he didn't have a sponsor in a starting park, and they didn't give him a playoff waiver because he wasn't going to win a race anyways. And the other 3 were for substance abuse or some kind of arrest.
Okay.
So everything other than that has been a go. So, I mean, you're handing them out like candy. Why not just give it to him? And if you want to set a new rule, don't make him your chopping block for it. I know that sounds crazy after everything I said last week, but
That
I
is
don't
kind
think
of-
he deserves one. I don't think he deserves one. However, with how NASCAR hands them out, why not give it to him?
Yeah, you're almost. Here's the biggest thing, is if they don't, he is on track for a second championship this year.
Mhm.
Well on the way. He's going to be, unless his season derails in October, he will be in the Final Four at Phoenix. So, could you imagine being that 5 car, winning Phoenix, but you didn't get your waiver, so you're watching somebody else do the burnout and get the championship trophy? That would
Yeah, I mean,
shut
that's one of
down
those who, if,
anybody from ever trying to attempt anything outside of NASCAR on the same day and run a double like that.
But I mean,
Yeah,
how
I
many
mean,
people
that
have
has
you
to
had
be.
run the double before? Didn't Kurt Busch do it?
Kurt Busch, I think, did it twice. Tony Stewart did it twice.
Robbie
I don't
Gordon
know.
did it like 5 times.
Robbie Gordon did it multiple times. AJ Foyt's done it. There are
Now-
multiple drivers that have done it.
Now, was there ever? I don't think there
There's
was
never
ever
an
a
instant
time like this,
like this
because
specifically.
Tony
the
Stewart's
Indy
was
has only
close.
been delayed for whether. What, this was like the second time ever? Am I wrong?
Excuse me. Yeah, no, I mean, it has not been many times.
That the Indy 500 has been delayed for weather. So, I think I think the things you need to take into account when you're thinking about the Larson waiver is, one, the Indy 500 was delayed for weather. And he was at the track, he was ready to race, and NASCAR called the race. I get that you have to start the race, but I think if he had the chance to even run a lap or two,
I think it is a different story if he runs a couple laps.
even if he had the chance to finish it.
The other thing you got to look at is the old rule was you just had to qualify. And he made an effort and qualified the car, was there as much as he could be. He's been as available as possible.
I just feel like this is going to be another NASCAR gray area. And at this point, it's
Well,
just kind of like, if you're going to stick to the rule in this situation, stick to the rule in every situation. Stick to the fact that they have to start every single NASCAR race. Or
And I
every
think they might be
regular season race. you
looking
know
at
what I mean.
setting that new precedent. But another thing I've heard is they might be trying to hold Hendrick Motorsports hostage in these charter negotiations.
Interesting.
Now, isn't that quite the conundrum?
Mm-hmm. Because apparently
is.
Hendrick Motorsports was never promised anything, and the higher-ups in NASCAR kind of heaved off because all week Rick Hendrick and Kyle Larson said the Coca-Cola 600 is my priority. The Coca-Cola 600 is my priority. And then they're like, yeah, we lied.
Well,
Because
could
it's
this,
not like you had
The
Rick
higher-ups
Hendrick
in
at-
NASCAR aren't happy about that.
I do kind of get where that does come across as like, oh, well, we lied because Rick Hendrick was at Indianapolis. He wasn't in Charlotte.
it was.
Yeah, I don't think they ever had any intentions on skipping the Indy 500.
I think the only way that they were going to be in Charlotte is if Indy ran on time or if Indy ran on Monday.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There were the only two ways that they were going to be in Charlotte. So, with that, though...
I did see, sorry,
Oh, no, you're good. Go ahead.
earlier, and I forget what account posted it. I just saw it on my For You page on Instagram. They asked all the drivers whether they think Larson should or should not get the waiver. And Bush was like, you'd be stupid not to give it to him. It's Kyle Larson. He's the biggest name in racing, not just NASCAR.
He was singing a different tune after the race.
That is true. Hamlin was kind of like, I don't know the timeline on it, but yeah. They should. Keselowski did say that he was shocked. He was not shocked at the time, but he would be shocked if they didn't give it to him. So all across just drivers, it seems like they are okay with him getting the waiver. So do you feel like if the drivers are okay with it, why are they making it such a big deal?
I think the media is making it a big deal, but normally they don't announce waivers until when they do the points penalties for the week thing anyways. And he didn't apply until Thursday, so NASCAR hadn't had a chance to come out and say, hey, we're giving the waiver yet. And I think there might be a little bit of a huge overreaction as well, that they might just be waiting till Tuesday or whenever they do their points penalties and stuff to say, hey, also, by the way, you get the waiver.
Well,
Right.
I feel
Or you
like
don't.
on another side of this too, it looks bad on the sport because you had such a big superstar that is bringing over a new fandom, and your base fans are now going to be like, well, this is Hendrick favoritism, and they
Mm-hmm.
held it out for the press line, which again, it has gotten it in the press, but now if they go with a new precedent that they want to set, then you absolutely just crash the whole entire reason for the double, outside of for the racer and the driver themselves. But the fan base that comes, because you have a fan base that comes over from IndyCar to follow this Kyle Larson guy that's supposedly a star of NASCAR, who's
Right.
now not eligible for a championship. What's the point in watching? It's like, it's if you're not a diehard fan and want to watch the Lions lose 16 games in a season, then you're not
The
going to watch the
Lions are
Lions
good
play.
now.
They're just the most recent that I can think of that a 0-win season, or the Falcons go 6-8. Sorry,
Yeah,
there we
Falcons
go.
So
or the Bears.
Yeah, you're not going to watch because at this point, there's not a chance for them to get a playoff spot or get into the championship and have those big moments, and it's not worth it to them from an average fan level. From our level, it's like, oh well, yeah, owners' points. It could be cool to see an owner car win a championship and then a driver win a championship. But from the average fan looking in, it's null and void. My driver can't run for a championship. What's the point?
True. So, going off of what you said about the Hendrick thing, do you feel like if they don't grant him the waiver, they're trying to make an example out of him or out of the team?
I think it's an example out of him, and it's almost like you shoot a hostage to know that you're in business.
What is with these morbid examples?
That
These
is 2 weeks
past
in a row.
2 weeks, y'all have been extremely morbid with your examples. Jeez.
But I mean that's kind of what it is. Is you're for NASCAR they're playing with house money at this point. So
I mean, either way, they make money. All the people who are flocking as fans from the Indy, I mean, they're going to watch whether he's in the playoffs or not. They're not going to be like, oh, well, he's not in the playoffs. You know?
I'll try to watch them win, but they won't be as invested as they could be. You could go from having somebody that just an average watcher to somebody that comes to a race.
I disagree with that.
If would you go to a tennis match?
No.
Okay then.
What's that
But-
have to do with...
Well, you're not obviously not
I
interested
also
enough in
don't
tennis.
watch tennis
Exactly.
on the TV.
So
And if Kyle Larson went and played tennis, or Kyle Busch went and played tennis, I probably still wouldn't watch it.
Daniel, does that analogy make sense to you?
No, because they're two different things.
Daniel
Yeah,
gets
I'm
it.
picking up what you're putting down.
So
I'm
Daniel,
not.
Daniel, if you had the option to go to a tennis match, would you go?
Maybe it feels like an important tennis match, like the Wimbledon or whatever.
But then there's all of a sudden this pickleball star that's playing in this tennis match. Would you
Okay,
then?
you didn't say that. You did not say that. Because what you were doing is you were likening NASCAR and tennis for a second there, and I was like, that doesn't make
I'm making an analogy of like you're not going to attend a sports event unless you're interested in the sport
in a sports sim.
Well, yeah, there's got to be a.
or a sports.
Well, there's
similar,
got to
yes.
be. There's got to be. It's not even that. It's just there's got to be some kind of draw. Like you see it right now with people are actually watching the WNBA because of Caitlin Clark. There's got to be some kind of draw bringing people in to want to watch it. And for the Indianapolis 500, a lot of people were going to watch that, but there was that extra draw because Kyle Larson was in it. And now there's the extra draw for the Charlotte race because they're like, oh, we want to see Larson do the double.
But because Larson
So it's
also
really
did so
just-
good in the Indy 500 on his first try, you have people who are going to continue to watch him in his quote-unquote natural habitat, per se, every week.
And in turn,
I think his natural habitat is a dirt track.
I feel like his natural habitat is anything involving a car at this
if
point.
it's got 4 tires and a steering wheel,
Now, let me ask you this, Alan and Emily. If he doesn't get the waiver, do you think if there's races he doesn't like running, do you think he'll be like, I'm going to go race somewhere else this weekend? I'm not
No.
eligible for the playoffs anyways.
No.
I think that he's too devoted to that 5 team as a whole that he wouldn't do that.
Is he?
But I don't think that he'd do anything extra. Well, from
He just
everything
proved he
that
wasn't
well,
super devoted last week.
well, again, you got to remember
As he
this:
sips his
it's
water.
not the drivers' championship that pays the money; it's the owners. The owners' points is
And
what
they're
pays
already
money.
locked into the playoffs in the owners championship.
Exactly, and they're still accruing points. Granted, they could have accrued more points this week, but here's the thing: at the end of the
But
day,
with Larson,
he's still leading the owners' points right now, and that bonus is
Mhm.
what pays the team, not
Yep.
his championship.
Well, I mean, Justin Allgaier showed that he can run pretty decent in there.
Well, keep that in mind.
Anybody can run decent in the 5-car.
The owners' points still got applied
Mm-hmm.
to the
Exactly.
5-car in general, so they got a 13th
So
place finish.
he's not exactly. So he's not screwing them if he's like, hey, there's a really, really big dirt race this weekend. I'm gonna go run that since I can't make the playoffs anyways.
Well, the only problem with that is most of your big dirt races are in like the fall and winter. But
Yeah. Well, you know what I'm saying.
yeah, I don't think that Larson does that for the fact of unless the charter negotiations keep going south, I could see it happening then.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it's like making a statement from Hendrick as a core.
Yeah.
So-
And then Rick Hendrick got the ball back in their court,
Yeah. So,
and they're letting the air out like Tom Brady.
But yeah, again, I think he gets granted the waiver this week when the report comes out, probably tomorrow. But with that said, I think it is a blown up topic. I do agree with you on that, in a sense, and that's mainly because they never applied for the waiver until Thursday. So,
No. I think
but I wonder
if
if
it
that
does,
was,
if we don't hear anything by the end of this week, then there's
should start
reason for
worrying.
concern. Yeah.
yeah, we
Then
can
we riot.
we can come back around.
we can write it. We write
Yeah,
it
we-
on.
We can ride it down to Sonoma. Oh,
Well,
right.
speaking of Sonoma, actually, I think one thing we forgot. What is the Jeff Gluck poll?
Jeff
real quick.
Gluck poll. It is at a total of 24,000 votes, and it's sitting at 68% yes.
About right. That's what I was thinking.
Mediocre
All I'm
race.
saying is that's better than the Coke 600.
That is better than the Coke 600.
Yeah,
So-
that one's kind of an outlier. That shouldn't
I'm still a
be
little
judged,
salty. Nope. It's
because
judged.
that really was a pretty decent race.
Judged.
If Larson made it, that would have been like an 85-90.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
But he didn't.
All right, Sonoma.
Sorry.
Dang.
Let's get in.
Daniel's been doing the
Let's get
same thing
into
to me
some-
all night, so I wanted to give it back.
Let's get into some pick review. All right.
No, I
So,
don't want to do
at
pick reviews.
Gateway, Allen had Martin Truex Jr., who finished 34th.
Woo, woo.
Emily had Kyle Busch, who finished 35th.
Thanks,
and
Larson.
I-
So glad you could show
I-
up this week.
And I was on the exact opposite of the spectrum at first place with Austin Cindric.
I'm so
Now,
proud
out of
you.
all the drivers I've picked this year, this is the one that I least expected to actually win. This was just kind of one of those legit throwing crap against the wall and seeing what stuck, and boy, did it stick. And had enough gas.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And
Just
a good
enough.
motor. So which brings us to Sonoma, to where I have a little bit of a dilemma.
Tell us
I
about your
have the
problems.
stats pulled up. Go ahead.
Tell us about your problems,
Well,
child.
I've been through the driver averages, and obviously Chase Elliott has the best average. He's got like
Correct.
a 5th place.
He has 5th place.
But I don't know if-
no wins.
I don't know if I want to save him. So my other options that I have is, I'll read them off. I have Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Chris Buescher, William Byron, Michael McDowell, and Daniel Suarez.
Dang, dude, you're like all over the place. Who do you want to start with as far as averages? Pick one.
I've looked at all their averages. I'm just trying to make a decision right now.
Larson has an 8. Suarez has an 11.7. McDowell has a 12.7. Who was the other one? Elliott.
Buescher, he's got like a 7th place finish.
7.3.
Yeah. Now, who I'd really like to have is Truex, because
You already.
he's won there 4 times. But we've all picked him, I think.
Yes.
I think that's like the only driver all of us
Should have saved him for this week. Watch, next week's episode is going to be a week late, is going to be the name of it. And that's going to be in my honor. So,
All right.
break it down for us, buddy.
Come on.
I'm going to go with Fords are on a roll. I'm taking Chris Buescher.
Chris Buescher.
Mr. Buescher.
Mr.
Well-
Busher. Alan, who do you have?
Mine was a little bit simpler than you guys's.
I have averages.
And that's mainly, I don't even need averages. Mainly because I've been harboring certain picks for a little while. Because it's about time for me to go on a streak these last 11 races of the regular season.
It's about time.
So I'm going to call a road course ringer in a Toyota Camry
Okay.
with a Monster Energy Beast on it and a 45 on the door. Tyler Reddick.
You know Tyler Reddick's buns at Sonoma, right?
I was gonna say you do
I
know
don't
when
care.
He
I
has like a
picked
30th.
Reddick.
In the next gen car,
Yeah,
he has
and-
like a 30th
And
average finish.
Austin Cindric is buns in the 2 car. And he still won a Gateway this week.
I mean, I will give it to
But
you
he's good at
on
Gateway.
road courses as a whole.
Going as a overall.
Going as overall, Reddick does have an 11.6 average finish over 19 races with 3 wins.
Yeah, but at Sonoma,
Sonoma
freaking Corey LaJoy's
specifically,
got a better average finish.
honey, he ain't anywhere near the top.
Average finish of 29th. I will take my chances.
Over 3 races.
I
I
will
feel like
take
you're
my
just trying to
chances.
pull a Daniel right now.
I picked him because it's Reddick. And I do believe that the 45 has a chance.
I thought that at one point this
I'm
season
gonna-
too, honey.
I'm going to sit. I'm going to die on this hill.
All right. Well, I guess it's my turn.
Daniel Harper, real quick
Oh.
before you pick, we all agree, but all of us have picked Truex at this point. It is wine country. That's his home.
I
So,
don't
but
feel like
use-
any
use
of us
your pick.
remembered to save him for Sonoma.
Look, all I'm going to say is Sonoma is a Toyota favorite track. It
I
is
mean,
a
I won with
Toyota
Truex, and Emily won with Truex. Alan,
Alan, you're
crapped
the
the
only
bed
one
with
that
Truex.
didn't win with Truex. He pulled through for both of us.
I felt like I was like round of 16 Truex last year. You know? Blow a tire on
Yeah.
lap 2 and put it in the wall. Yeah.
All right, so I am.
Gonna pick Daniel Suarez, my other favorite driver.
What I was actually gonna say is I am torn between Suarez and McDowell. Thank you, Daniel.
McDowell is a phenomenal road course racer with much faster cars than Daniel Suarez.
That's why I'm leaning towards McDowell.
But you do still have Hamlin in your picks, too.
Oh, I
Not
am
to-
saving Hamlin. Hamlin is staying there.
I bet she's going to go for him on the Coke 400.
Shh. Shh.
We've already picked him.
Shh, shh, shh.
There's nothing we can do.
Yeah, I can't pick him again.
Oh yeah, y'all have picked him. I'm the only one with Hamlin still. Yeah. Where did you pick Nemechek?
Oh, I don't
Richmond.
know, Phoenix? Richmond? Yeah. It was a hope and a prayer, and Lord, was I right. Should have picked him at Talladega.
John Hunter Rekachek.
I bet there's going to be a bet line on him in October that's how likely is Nemechek to wreck all the Toyotas again?
All right. I need honest opinions, not opinions that are going to try to sink me. Suarez or McDowell.
McDowell is more consistent on road courses. Suarez
Suarez is pretty good though, and he has won at Sonoma. You can't honestly. I don't think you can go wrong with either one of them.
My thoughts are is if I don't use Suarez here, where else can I use him? In all actuality.
The Chicago Street Course.
I didn't think about that.
We do have like 3 more road courses on the schedule. 2 more before the playoffs.
But we can pick
Where?
open seats on them too.
Well, we got this week, and we also have Chicago because Walking Glens is in the playoffs this year.
Oh yeah.
So there is two road courses left before the playoffs. So you have here in Chicago in 3 weeks 4 weeks. It's all down to you.
Interesting.
No.
You gotta pick
Can
one.
I
I'm
change my
still-
pick?
No.
What do you want to change your pick to? Hold on.
Wait, you can't steal one of my picks because you actually said both of the people and still didn't pick either of them.
I think I'm going to change mine to Elliott. I'm going to say Busher. We're calling it an audible. Picks haven't been completely locked down. I'm calling it an audible. We're switching to Chase Elliott. I thought Watkins Glen was in the regular season. That's why I was saving him.
Yes, now Walking Glens is in the round of 16. So you will have Elliott back for that. Just as a side note.
Yeah.
As he is locked in the playoffs. So what you
Watch
think?
Chris Busher win this.
I don't know.
Watch Chris Busher win this weekend. Now that I
Now that you
neglected
pulled
him
No,
and didn't pick
because
him.
you didn't pick him, he's not going to win. Didn't you look at last week? And then your 5-week streak you had?
So, well, we got to
I
round
took a
out
2-week break and let you guys win some.
Oh, it's over
We're
for you
very
after
grateful.
this week, buddy.
Alright.
Being very meticulous with my picks.
I'm
Me
thinking
too.
of a number 1 through 10.
5.
3.
34.
1 through 10?
99.
34. Daniel, I'm McDowell. You are Suarez. Rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. All right. Suarez won. So you going Suarez?
Fine, Suarez.
All right.
My other favorite driver.
Just so you know, I have my computer is frozen, so I can't see anything. So I'm watching off our Facebook Live, which has a 5-second lag.
I was
So
wondering
I was
why you
finding
were
out
a
with
little...
everybody else when
You won.
so I couldn't even see what you were picking.
So it was pretty spot on for both of us on the stream here. But guys,
I will be honest, you were 2 seconds behind, and I was like, what's taking him so long?
well, I think that is going to round up our week. Remember to follow us on all of our social medias. If you're watching this, you'll see it on the screen. If not, check the description below. If you are listening to us on Spotify or any other streaming app, we love if you rate us as well as leave a review, as that helps us get in front of more NASCAR fans like us and yourself. Without further ado, we will see you all back here next Monday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time for another live episode of Gas on the Right, post Sonoma, with a victory to one of us in points.
Me.
See you guys.
That would be me.
Probably not me.